As you guys know, almost every week I like to do a batch prep. It helps me get food ready for the week so I can cook things more quickly. And also it helps me just eat up all the things that I buy and make sure that I'm not letting anything go to waste. And it doesn't just have to be food waste. There are actually a few things I like to do around the house to improve my environmental impact. And these are all super simple things that anybody can do. So while we do this batch prep together, I'm gonna take you through my 7 simple tips. I've already got my apron on. Make sure you get yours on as well. And let's get started. If you've been following my channel for a while, you probably know that occasionally I like to get a produce box. I don't know if anyone else has noticed lately, but I just see a lot more plastic than I used to at the grocery stores. And a produce box like this has a lot less plastic packaging. Of course, not everything's gonna be perfect but this does greatly reduce the amount of plastic. Most of it is just loose in the box. Not to mention, a lot of these food delivery companies actually take produce that would otherwise be thrown away. They are like imperfect at the grocery stores. So we're actually saving a lot of food waste just by buying these boxes as well. Now, before I wash and chop anything, I want to put a couple of these items into the fridge that I'm not going to be prepping. And that brings me to my next tip, which is using reusable grocery bags. If I do go to the grocery store, I will take these with me instead of using plastic bags. And even for things like this, like my produce box, if I have something like apples that I'm not going to wash and cut right away, then I can use the produce bags and store them in the fridge. And then of course I can also wash the bag when it gets dirty and reuse it again and again. Now let's go ahead and get the rest of these fruits and veggies into the sink to wash. Most of my fruits and veggies I will just wash together in one side of the sink, but if I have any items that are extra dirty or extra delicate, then I will usually just wash those separately, like these potatoes. And I'm just gonna do a simple oven bake on these potatoes. I'm just adding a little bit of garlic powder, paprika, and salt, and these are gonna go into the oven at 425 degrees. I'm also gonna roast these eggplants simultaneously, so just getting them on a baking sheet with a couple slits and then into the oven as well. For strawberries, my pro tip for washing them is to use a little bit of vinegar in the soaking water, and I find that it just helps prevent any mold from growing on them. So I do about 10 minutes in a vinegar bath, and while those are soaking, we can start our beets in the Instant Pot. These are really easy in the Instant Pot. All we need to do is press steam, and I'm going to cook these for 20 minutes. Then we'll give the strawberries one final rinse to get off any of the vinegar, and they are ready to store. So what I like to do with my strawberries is to take about half of them. I look for the ones that are not overripe, and I keep them in a separate Tupperware. And then with the remaining strawberries, the ones that are looking very ripe and need to be eaten right away, I just chop so that they're ready to use. And I do like to carefully cut out the stem because you don't waste as much strawberry that way. And then remove any blemishes or bad spots, and then cut them however you like. Carrots I'm just gonna use for snacking, so I don't need to do anything special with them. And same with tomatoes. For the lemons, I like to juice them all at once. I just find it so much easier. So I'm just going to juice all of these together, and then with the juice, you can either store it in the fridge for a couple weeks, or what I like to do is actually add it to an ice cube tray, and that way they can be stored in the freezer. You can pop the cubes out into a Tupperware once they're frozen, and then you have lemon juice ready to go anytime you need. For the mushrooms, I'm just giving them a very quick rinse to get off any dirt or debris, and then I'm just gonna give these a rough chop. I'm gonna do these mushrooms and onions in the oven, actually with some tofu. So I have some tofu in the fridge. Let's grab that out and prep it. And then as soon as the eggplant and potatoes are done, we can swap these into the oven. I totally forgot that I had this lettuce in the fridge. This is actually from last week's delivery, and I didn't eat it because I had so much lettuce from the week before. It does look a little bit wilted, but that is fine. I think most people would look at this and just be like, oh, it's dead, I need to throw it out. But I'm gonna show you guys how to revive this. This does not need to go to waste. it will be as good as new in about 20 minutes. So first thing you want to do is to take off any leaves that are definitely not salvageable, which is usually just a couple of the outer leaves. So actually the rest on this one look fine. I'm just going to discard these 2 leaves, and then we'll pull off each of the leaves one by one, and that will help them soak up the cold water more easily. And we're just gonna fully submerge all of them in cold water and actually add a few ice cubes, and that is the secret to bringing them back to life. Now that the potatoes are out of the oven, I am going to start on the tofu scramble with mushrooms and onions. And that actually brings me to my next tip, which is these reusable silicone mats. I love these. I've had these for about 5 years now, and I use them all the time in the oven in place of parchment paper for anything under 400 degrees. So the potatoes, of course, get roasted at a higher heat. I need to use parchment paper for those, but for pretty much everything else, I use these mats. They can be used over and over. All you have to do is wash them when you're finished. They can even go in the dishwasher. So these are great. I use them all the time. We're gonna cook our scramble on these. So for the tofu scramble, all we need to do is crumble the tofu. I'm making a big batch, so I'm actually using 3 blocks of tofu. This is just a tofu scramble spice mix. Actually, I got the idea from It Doesn't Taste Like Chicken. I will link her recipe down below. Basically, it's just a mix of nutritional yeast, garlic powder, onion powder, black salt, and turmeric for color. So of course, normally you would cook tofu scramble in a pan, but I thought since I already have the oven on and I want to roast some veggies today, that I might as well do it in the oven. This is gonna be a first for me. I hope it turns out well, but I'm gonna give it a try. So I'm using about 1/2 cup of the mixture, and then just give that a stir, make sure everything is thoroughly coated. And the tofu scramble will bake at 350 degrees for about 35 minutes. Tip number 4 is reusing what you've got. So I have actually been using and reusing these large gallon size Ziploc bags over and over in many of my batch preps. I usually store my leafy greens in these once I wrap them in a towel. And when I do finally replace them, I will probably opt for something that is a little bit more long lasting, like silicone bags. But in the meantime, these are something that I bought a very long time ago, and it doesn't really make sense to throw them out when they work perfectly well. So same with like recyclable glass jars. I could just get rid of them and recycle them after one use, but I actually reuse mine for holding other things like salad dressings in the fridge, or even like beans in my pantry. So just keep an eye out for little things that you can reuse instead of just getting rid of. One of my hacks for keeping herbs and veggies fresh for longer in the fridge is to actually use something that'll help absorb excess moisture. I always used to use paper towels until I realized that a kitchen towel works just as well, and they are reusable. So basically now I just wrap a lot of things in kitchen towels. I will wrap leafy greens like lettuce or kale. I will obviously do my herbs. You can use it in a Ziploc bag or even in a Tupperware, and that'll just help absorb some of that excess moisture. Look at our lettuce, so nice and revived. Oh my goodness, it is like back to normal. And now this lettuce is ready to store. If you saw my last video about how to grow your own sprouts, you know that I actually have a separate laundry just for my kitchen items. And that brings us to tip number 6, which also happens to be the sponsor of today's video, True Earth. I've been using their products for a couple years now, and I love them because not only are they better for the environment, but they are so easy to use. They come in these lightweight flat packs, which completely replaces those bulky, heavy detergent containers. And did I mention they're vegan? That means no animal-based ingredients and no testing on animals. To wash my towels, all I need to do is take one of these strips. Each strip can do 1 load. Since I'm doing a smaller load, I'm just gonna tear this in half, throw it into the washer, add in my towels, and press start. And that's it. They also have other products like this multi-surface cleaner and dishcloths. Actually, let me just take you back to the kitchen and I'll show you. So with old cleaners, you usually have to buy a new bottle every time too, but with these True Earth strips, you can just reuse the same bottle over and over. And you guys know how I love to reuse things. So to use the multi-surface cleaner, all we need to do is roll up the strip, put it in the bottle, add hot water, and shake. Now to go with your multi-surface cleaner, they even have dishcloths, and these are great because they are fully biodegradable, they are compostable, and they have zero plastic. They're actually made of wood, cellulose, and cotton and can be machine washed up to 50 times. So this 6-pack here is gonna last me quite a while. And to save money, because you guys know I'm all about saving money where I can, True Earth even has a subscription plan, which is cheaper. And with each initial subscription, they will donate 32 loads to frontline workers, food banks, and those in need. So definitely go check them out. I will leave the link down below, and I even have a special code for you guys. You can use Let's Eat Plants to save 10%. And now with our tofu scramble finished and cooled, we're just gonna add it into a Tupperware alongside the potatoes so that we have this meal ready to grab and go. Of course, having all of this food prepped and ready to go makes me much more likely to eat it throughout the week. And that is tip number 7, batch prep to reduce food waste. It is estimated we waste 168 million tons of food every year. So that's definitely something I like to reduce myself if I can, which is also gonna save me money, and I really don't like throwing away money. So now that everything's prepped, we can relax, and I will see you guys again soon.